how do I find a job? Why did that person get a job over me? I never even got the phone call. You know, your network is your net worth.
Especially the early part of my career, or just finding jobs, it was through people I knew, through relationships.
So strategic relationships, should we, because a lot of people ask me about it, and probably you too, you know, it's like, but for me, I was just thinking about it when you wanted to talk about it from the perspective of, you know, like, how do I find a job? Why did that person get a job over me? I never even got the phone call, you know, and everyone, you always hear this over the years. It's like, you know, your network is your net worth.
Right.
And you hear all these kind of things about, like, you know, old boys clubs, or in the kind of those kind of networks. And it really, actually, I think it's actually true. A lot of it's who you know.
Oh, absolutely. When I think about, you know, over the years, especially the early part of my career, or just finding jobs, I didn't even have a career yet. It was through people I knew, through relationships. And it just, you know, one thing led to another. I remember, so my very first job after college, my first like professional job was with Morgan Stanley as an administrative assistant. And the reason why I got into recruiting was the managing director that I supported at Morgan Stanley. He was the #2 guy in fixed income. He was responsible for hiring and interviewing all of the associates and analysts for the trading floor in fixed income. And he taught me how to read a resume. And I was like, this is cool. I really like this. So I decided that was what I wanted to pursue. And fast forward, when I think about how hard I worked to think about who did I know, right, to help me leverage that to get a job in the space. And one of my first recruiting jobs, I think I landed on my own with a contingent firm on Long Island, and I was recruiting mortgage processors, and I wanted to stick a fork in my eye. It was full and terrible. And my brother was dating this young woman. This is many years ago, and her brother owned a temporary staffing firm. And we were good friends, and she introduced me to her brother, and he hired me. And then my next job was through a connection from my father and his relationship he had with someone to help me land my job in executive search in Connecticut, which is where I cut my teeth in true executive search and the recruitment process outsourcing space, but before it was called recruitment process outsourcing. And then it just kept going on through relationships. And I think that sometimes it happens and you're not really realizing that through those connections, your network is your net worth. Yes, but we're just thinking, who do I know to help me, right? Especially when you're so innocent and naive.
Definitely. No, it's the most important thing. It's also interesting because in some conversations people are like, oh, it shouldn't be like that, and you know, this person's, they've hired someone that they know, and it's an old boys club, and you hear a lot of this stuff, and it's also crazy because, you know, from what you just described, imagine if this is like place. Imagine if someone's born into, you know, a single parent family where they don't have the connections and stuff. It's really difficult, isn't it? You know, coming up without having, like, knowing people in the right place, or even just doing a job. Like I spoke with there's basically like a friend of mine asked me to speak to her son, and the lady didn't grow up in the UK, so she came over here from Europe. The son's born in the UK, and she like just didn't know how to guide her son. So like she was like, do you mind speaking to my son? He's like 17, 18. So I spoke with him, and he was like, his question was crazy. It wasn't crazy, but it was like hard to answer. It was like, should I do an apprenticeship or should I go to university? Basically, the question. It's quite a hard question, especially not your kid, you know. So like, so, you know, giving some advice and stuff, and, you know, and not telling him what to do, but asking questions and advice, and then it strikes you. It's like, you know, he obviously doesn't have anyone in his circle to be like, oh yeah, I'd love to try that. Or, you know, or to your point, you know, maybe you went into recruiting because like you knew someone that was doing it, and they were like, well, when you come try with me, and then one thing led to another, and you've had a wonderful career in recruiting.
Right.
But you don't grow up wanting to be a recruiter.
No, I didn't grow up wanting to be a recruiter.
Who does? Who does, right? I mean, like, you
No,
just
but
don't. You don't even know about it. I mean, it's like,
right,
but when you land in it,
yeah.
I wanted to be a diamond dealer and a stockbroker. I mean, it's caricature, but because I had like my dad's firm as a stockbroker, and he was making money, and then my cousin, who's like 15 years older, he had like the really cool Italian friend, and he was a diamond dealer. And oh my god, like I want to be a diamond, But it was people that I knew. So to your point, because when you're young, you need like role models. You need to imagine what's possible.
Right.
And so, wherever you end up, like wherever you are in like society, it's so important because you can do this despite, I think, it's like go out and meet with people, go out and speak to people. So this kid, he now knows me. And if he goes to speak to someone else, he knows them. And then I think, you can collect, this is what you've got to be good at, I think, is collect friends or make friends and then be good at staying in touch with people and be good at reaching out and building a network, and trying to like, not kind of like, what can you do for me, but just
right. I think
building
that's
friendship.
Correct. I think that's one of the common misconceptions, right, about relationship building. And I called it, like in my post that I put up about this, strategic relationship building. And I think that most people are just trying to build relationships, whether it's strategic or not, or intentional or not, may not necessarily be at the forefront of their mind. But I think the misconception is that, we may be building a relationship based off of needing something. And sometimes there's probably truth to that, but I think it's just, we're human, and how do we help each other, right? And we build off that. I mean, I think about a couple of people. One person in particular is coming to mind, a good friend of mine. So when I landed that executive recruiter job, that, through the connection of my dad, I made a work bestie, right? And we're still good friends to this day. And many years ago, I left that company. I went to go work at another company in Manhattan, and her sister was looking for a job. And she said, can you just maybe talk to her and see if you can help her? And she didn't have a college degree. And again, it was all about networking. And it was the work relationship of my work bestie that I had. And I saw a lot of potential in her and some raw talent. And she didn't have specific corporate experience at the time. And I introduced her to somebody that was in the IT department of the company that I worked for. So it wasn't like I made the decision to hire her. He did. And it was an administrative job. And eventually she got into recruiting. And then I left that company, recommended her to take my job, actually.
Right.
And then I left and went back to my former company that I had just had prior to that one. And probably 3 months later, maybe it was 6 months, brought her with me. And
there we go.
And
on that,
in her career.
Yeah. On that, it's funny. I have people I speak to, and you're like, what's the story? And I moved here, moved there, and you're like, how did you get that job? I used to work with, my line manager, whatever, boss, teammate. They went to this other firm, and then I got a phone call. So it's crazy. I spoke to someone the other day, and they were like, I can't believe like this person on one of my peers, like they got a phone call about this big job, and I didn't even hear about it, and I'm way better than them. And you're like, maybe you are, but if no one knows you,
right,
who cares? Kind of thing. It's like, so there's, as you get on into work, and if you want to get the leadership role or your first leadership role or the big whatever job, so much of it is literally who you know. And or just being visible as well, like
exactly. I was going to say that it's about, so in terms of building those relationships at work, right? So early in the career, it helps you with who people taking a chance on you. But then once you're in it, right, then what do you do to continue to build those relationships? And so you get your peers, your mentors, and your champions or your sponsors, right? And how do you do that? And through mentors, you ask a lot of questions. How did you get that? How do I do that? Right. And in terms of looking at projects you could take on, extra assignments, just really stepping up to do other things. And then I don't want to say aligning yourself. I think it's, maybe it is aligning yourself with other leaders so that you have to prove yourself. So you find that sponsor, that sort of executive sponsor, to help you grow as a leader. And I think that's a really important relationship if that's, someone's focus in terms of, getting additional promotions, so that someone is willing to put their neck out for you to help you, move further along in your career.
No, definitely. I mean, look, if you're there for them, they'll be there for you.
Absolutely.
And then I think that also the thing is, it's like, you need to be good at making friends with lots of different types of people. Like you get a lot of Marmitey, we call it Marmitey characters in England. And if you have Marmite, it's like Vegemite. It's like you either love or you hate it,
Right.
And you can get like, and sometimes people are like that. It's like you're so focused on just people that you'd like, go out for, like just friends. You kind of ignore people that you maybe don't quite align with, or you don't quite agree with, or you wouldn't go out for a drink with them. And so, but I think to get into work, this is, and not talking about being like disingenuous. I'm talking about just be a good person.
Right.
And you could probably have something in common with everyone, and have this wonderful thing. The world works like with reciprocity. You do things for some people, you do it for, it's like quid pro quo. I go a little bit out of my way for you, you'll go a bit out of your way for me.
Right.
And then that's how it works, right? That's how it works.
Correct.
So in work, I think it's important to do that. And you go to like a boss, because again, like working, you've got to work hard, right? Like you've got to put the effort in. Despite what they're saying on TikTok, got to go really, really hard. And and you go to your boss, you're like, what keeps you up at night? Give me the top 3 things, let me do it for you, or something. And you just go really, really hard, and you're just known, like you're the person that you're working hard, you're there for other people, you're going above and beyond. And if you do that regularly, like your career is going to be really long, but you're there, and like they're the people that others want on their team. Like you want that person that's just reliable, works hard, nice to be around, not ruffling feathers, not throwing their toys out the pram and acting all, like whatever, hurt because something's been said, like just,
I think, yes, I think that, and this comes a little bit off the topic of strategic relationships and building them. It's a part of it, but I think getting feedback is critical. So you don't wait until performance review time. I think you should regularly be asking for feedback, whether it's from your direct manager, a peer, a sponsor. How am I doing? What could I be doing differently? Where are my blind spots? Where are my areas of development, so that you can be mindful of how to improve and perform at the best of your ability, so that you can secure that next promotion or enhance your skills and go someplace else. I think
100%.
those are very important things to do. And sometimes people may be not comfortable seeking feedback.
It's I mean, look, absolutely. A lot don't. A lot take it to heart. You get a lot of people get very offended by it. But it's so powerful to, just take a little step back. Always thinking it's almost like treating yourself like a business, just working on your business. You're the CEO. It's like, right, how can I improve?
Right.
And maybe you think, I don't know, you just need different lenses. You want like you think you're doing something great, but actually, unless someone tells you, you don't sometimes know. If you're I'm running a company and I do stuff, and someone doesn't say to me, hold on a sec, mate, have you thought about this? Or actually, how do you know? Sometimes you're so in your
lane.
you're in your lane, and unless you're I try like always to just put my head above the parapet and try and see what's going on. And I like to talk about lots of different things. We talk about like politics and economics, and because it's quite nice, right? Because you're kind of in your so it's nice to see that. On strategic relationships, that's interesting, because strategic relationships implies that in some contexts is that you pick a side, right? A side that you think is going to win sometimes, because this is the other meaning of it. We've talked about the benefit of just throughout your career making friends with people, because wonderful things happen. And then the strategic relationship's interesting. And for me, just what popped to mind was Elon Musk deciding to back Donald Trump, because that's a very strategic relation, wasn't it? Because I remember we were talking about the whole thing, and a very emotive thing, whatever. And I was just always just sitting back thinking, wow, you know, a business leader has decided to go like all in on a relationship, and if it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Quite interesting. I think mostly in business, I think the general thing is like you don't see that very often.
No, I don't think
very uncommon. It's uncommon.
Well, because I think so. Well, you know, maybe to some extent though, it's because it's strategic in, I know that I want to go here. This is where I want to get to. I'm going to purpose myself to, okay, obviously have to deliver, right? You have, if you're going to put yourself in that spotlight, but you may strategically plan on having a cultivated relationship with a senior leader, right? Or someone who may be a peer, who understands things in a space that you're not as familiar with, so you could learn that. I mean, there's some strategies around, you know, how you develop yourself, but I think we don't want it to be with malintent, it not in a bad way, like selfish, right? So it's and so that people feel used. I think there has to be this full awareness that what can you give someone else? Also, you have to give back. You can't. It's give to get.
Yeah, it's got to be, a relationship has to be, because obviously, you know, like it's got to be two-way. Obviously, everyone has their own interests, like that, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know, but and people know that. But as long as it's like you're both getting some stuff because on strategic, again, because I was speaking to someone and they wanted to be like they wanted to start a business, be an entrepreneur, CEO and stuff. So my first question was well, how many entrepreneurs do you know? Like how many if you want to be a CEO, how many CEO friends do you have? Or how many CFO friends do you have? Like who's doing what you want to do? Do you know anyone? And he's like, well, you know, because you can see it if you look in society, like a lot of these CEOs that they know each other, they're friendly, tech founders, you know, making friends in Silicon Valley, whatever. And it's important to have people doing what you do because you can learn from them, you can learn what not to do. So I think if you want to do something and you're clear about it, let's say I know you want to start a business, I think strategically go out and be strategic about making friends with people that are entrepreneurs, because there's like-minded people, like we call them like people like us, PLUs or whatever, because there's value for both sides. You know, you're going to learn from each other. Like I remember when I set up my business, it was just like me on my own, and I had like 4 or 5 mates that set up their own businesses, and every Friday we call each other, be like, mate, how's your Friday? You know, how's your week been?
Right.
And you just have it a bit holding you to account, even if it's just me on my own. I'm like, well, you know, I had a few meetings, and they were like, and I made a placement, got some new jobs, or I was like, oh, it wasn't great. And they're like, well, what are you doing, mate? I'm like, oh, well, you know, you had someone that you just had to just say, yeah, I know, had a bad week or had a great week, or try this, try that. So I think that's worth really thinking. And nowadays you can do that really easily on LinkedIn, right? Like you can be like, because let's say you're sitting there, I'm like, oh, I don't really know any entrepreneurs. There's no one in my town that does that. You know, I've got no idea. How do I even go about finding people like that? Now, the good news is you can do it from your home, where you can just go on LinkedIn, you put in entrepreneurs or in your industry, whatever it is, you find people, you find content, and just reach out. And I mean, so loads of people are happy to chat.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about even people that are referred to us, or they see us, like you said, you know, even through content on LinkedIn, and they reach out and they want to connect with us. And we are in the business of building relationships. And I love talking to people. You know, they reach out to me and I'm like, well, this person's really interesting. I would love to get to know this person. I mean, just, you know, last week, there was someone I happened to reach out to on LinkedIn because I was really impressed with some of his content. And unbeknownst to me, he had sent me a message, an email, and I guess I missed it. I didn't see it. So it was just kind of ironic.
Yeah.
But we spoke, we had a lovely conversation, and in fact, I'm introducing you to have coffee with him because he's in the UK.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's just, again, it's building upon these relationships. You don't even have to be working with an individual, to your point, what you just made. And there's a lot out there for, you think about, I guess, a piece of a pie. So whether or not you are in an organization with other people, there's enough pie to go around to kind of share as you collaborate,
Definitely.
right? And how can I help you? And I would love to get help from you too, and in this way. So I think that there's a lot of ways that we could be consciously or unconsciously building these relationships through the peers, through mentors, and through champions. Who's my champion at work, right?
Definitely. No, definitely. It's like even in our industry where it's generally very competitive between other firms, and there's typically not that many like opportunities to meet fellow search professionals. Unlike other industries, there's not so many networking events and stuff like that. So you have to really go and seek out people if you want to meet other folks that are not from your firm.
Right.
And I've got a little group I've got a little group of like search owners I know that we exchange ideas over the years. In fact, we've joined a global network recently,
right?
Where every quarter we jump on with like 50 other folks from around the world. And it's great, And what's really interesting is that, because the thing that actually struck me about this NX thing that we've joined, is that everyone really wants to chat and like learn what other people are doing, which is interesting because before you jump into that, it's all a bit, there's just not that thing in our industry.
Right.
Even my point is, even in this industry, there's so many people wanting to chat and exchange ideas and even exchange work with each other.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same in every other industry. And it's really nice to make friends. I mean, who doesn't want to make friends?
You just never know where it could go. I mean,
yeah.
Just never know where it could go. So this conversation I had with this gentleman last week, he happens to walk in a parallel space to the world that I've walked in the payments industry. And I'm going to introduce him to a couple of people because why not? And I don't do it because, oh, how could that help me? I do it because I enjoy doing that, but there could be the opportunity that may present itself where someone says, oh my gosh, Alison, I haven't spoken to you in so long. And, I remember what great work you've done and would love to talk with you about conducting executive search for me. It's positive leverage is what it is.
Absolutely. Because everyone's trying to do business. Everyone's trying to make money. Everyone's trying to build a business or do a good job. And so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do business. It's often really, I think a lot of the time, how you go about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think because the other thing with this, the risk, I want to point this out because a lot of people do this really badly, is they go in selling, selling something. I mean, I can't even tell you, like, I got a message from this guy I've known. I mean, honestly, I've known this guy for like 20 years, haven't spoken to him in like a long time. And he sends me a message on LinkedIn. I need a job. Here's my CV. Not even like, hey, how you doing, mate? I hope the family are good. Not even pretending that he cares. I get so many of those,
Yeah.
So do think about like how you make an approach and because no one likes to be sold to, and no one likes to feel like they're being used all the time either.
Oh, of course not. But I would love to see, you hear these stories from people, we talk to people all the time, and it's almost a regular thing that you hear from people. I reached out to, these former colleagues, people in a job search, right? And I reached out to former colleagues. I reached out to former bosses, hey, how you doing? And it's just for networking and not directly asking, right, for help. And only to get ghosted by those people. And I find that really sad. I mean, and I think people have to stop and take a moment to think about, I could be in that person's situation at any time, any given moment, right? So why not have that conversation? If you're able to help someone drive a relationship, I mean, was your relationship that bad? I mean, this person walked away feeling like we had a good relationship. Why wouldn't you talk to me? It's happened to me. I mean,
yeah. No, you're right. What's interesting, I 100% agree. And over the last few years, there's been a lot of people looking for work over the last few years. You know, like tech firms, banks, and stuff. Everyone may have been in redundancies. It's just recovering now. But you know, if you don't invest the time over a long period of time, just making friends with people and having the chat with your ex-colleagues and stuff, then when it comes to it, they weren't going to be there for you.
Right.
They just won't be there for you because you've not bothered. And suddenly you're going to find yourself being like, hey, I really need help. They're probably not going to be there for you, you know. So there's a big difference between just, you know, like building friendship, like network, professional, personal network of just, you know, let's jump on for 10 minutes. How you finding the market, mate? You know, just whatever, you know, like how's the year been for you? That's it. You know, nothing else. And who knows, right?
Right.
Yeah, and when, do you know what? And when it comes to, oh my God, you know, I've been made redundant, Alison. I mean, you know, if you wouldn't mind, can we have a quick chat? You're going to be like, of course, no problem, mate. You know, let's chat. How can I help you? Who can I hook you up with? Let me try and help you out. Absolutely. I had a friend of mine call me the other, like later on Friday. He's been unfortunately made redundant. He's a wonderful guy. He's helped me loads. I'm like, anyone you want, I'm hooking you up. You know, just no question.
Right.
No question.
Right.
That's, you know, kind of.
That's what we do. I mean, there are givers and takers. Do you want to be a giver or do you want to be the taker? And I think it's pretty matter of fact, like that, givers and takers. And again, there's also the give to get. You know, if you want to get, you do need to give. It can't be one-sided. It really can't.
Yeah.
Become so obvious that it's so one-sided, then those people don't want to. People are not going to want to help you.
Yeah. It's just, that's just, I mean, it's a reality. It's a reality. It's a reality.
So, I think that it's important to stay proactive in your own career development, certainly. So as you foster those relationships, and if you want those phone calls back, I think it's really important to be mindful of how you treat people. You know,
work hard and be professional. My two non-negotiables, and just you know, do that. And you go through life, through work, be nice to people, work hard, go the extra mile, stay in touch. It's so easy with social media platforms now. I mean, it's like it's just, you just press connect on the LinkedIn, and then every month spend 10 minutes reaching out, be like, hey, how you getting on? How you getting on? I mean, you can even automate that now, you know, like, and like, so it's so easy now, right? It's so easy now.
Right.
If you really can't be bothered, get your ChatGPT friend to write it for you. I mean, you know, but then you have the human contact, which is the point. It's like we all like human contact.
Yeah.
So despite all of the tech and everything like that, for me, it's all designed to be able to stay in touch with you better, so we can chat more. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know. So there we go.
Yeah, we use the word be intentional, or the relationship's intentional. I think it's about being intentional about how you show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to be intentional about how you show up, how you spend your time developing those relationships, and then take on projects, whatever. But it's showing up in the right way as you think about your own career and your own future to help yourself, but in turn also be thinking about how can I help others, and it comes back.
Beautiful.
Wheels round.
Beautiful. Nailed it.